Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Video Games, back with a really cool, amazing arcade game for you today. This is a really old one, and it's like nothing you can really find in the arcade anymore. So whenever we got this sucker fixed, we thought, you know what we need to do? We need to film a video for all of our YouTube fans, because this is too good to be missed. So here's the video. This was made by Allied Leisure in 1971, and it's called Spin Out. By the time you see this video, Mr. Spin Out may have already been sold, but you can check out our website and see what we have available for sale. As a matter of fact, by the time you see this video, I'm pretty sure Spin Out's going to be sold, because supposedly we already have a customer for it. So this came out in, like I said, 1971. That's a long time ago. And that actually predates arcade games that have a monitor in them. So there's no monitor in this game. So it works all on electromechanical motors and relays and stuff like that. And I will show you extensively how it works, because it is awesome. Now, there's not much to it. You're just driving a car and trying not to spin out and trying to get a high score. But even doing that was complicated back in the day, so I'll show you how they did it. So this thing is nearly 45 years old. You can see how the cabinet was built. The cabinet is actually very nice. It's a pretty decent grade plywood. I'll use this to show you a little bit about how they did the cabinets. Like I said, they built this out of plywood, and the way they would paint it, and you know, a lot of you guys know this, but if we've got younger viewers watching this just trying to figure some of this stuff out, how things used to be, I figured I'd go over a little bit of it. They would build these out of plywood, and it was kind of cheap plywood, so it was just it wasn't furniture grade or anything like that. It was just cheap plywood. So they would paint it. The first thing they would do is just spray paint it yellow, or that, you know, tan color there. With a, you know, they'd have a big air compressor and just spray it, get it all yellow. Well, because the plywood wasn't really finished, and it wasn't really high quality plywood, they would put on this what a lot of people call speckle paint. If you look, see all these red dots all over it? Well, the way they did that was, they would, after they painted it yellow, they would move it down the assembly line, and then there would be another person there with another air gun with the nozzle adjusted so that it just spit little bits of paint out. And they would and it would put that splatter effect on it. So the reason they did that, it looks cool when you look at it now, and you can kind of tell that that's the original paint because of that. But the reason that they actually did it was because it hid deficiencies in the plywood. It's kind of a optical illusion. When you step back a little bit, you don't really see the dots, the spots, but you also don't see any uneven spots in the plywood. Of course you do now because it's so old, but when it was brand new, it would have made it look nice and smooth, and you wouldn't have seen all the places where there's a knot in the plywood, or a little crack, or the paint's a little thinner. So kind of just a trick of the eye. And then they would move it down to the next station, and so the next guy, he might have, or it might have been the same person just doing it with different guns, but he would have a red one, and so he would put a big stencil up on the cabinet, and then pss, 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 and spray all the red in. And then the next person might have a black stencil, and so they'd lay the black stencil and spray the black in, and then spray the white in, and then the blue, and the blue would also continue down like that. And so that's how they used to paint them. They're stenciled. That's actually a pretty decent stencil. It's pretty detailed artwork. The pinball machines in the 70s usually weren't quite that detailed. They'd kind of made them a little simpler by then, where the patterns were bigger and there just wasn't as much detail. That now, if you look at a pinball machine from like the 50s, they have a lot of detail. They look really nice, a lot of them. They were painted similarly. And here's the front, which just had a checkerboard pattern. Most of the time that coin door is a different color. You can actually see it on the back. That's the original color of this coin door. I think they did a few different colors. Somebody's painted this one over the years. And I think the pedal originally was chrome. I think it's been painted. And then, again, this was made by Allied Leisure. This steering wheel, if you look at it, it says the 500 Superior Performance Products. And there's a penny in there. That wasn't original. Somebody just stuck it in there, and we thought it was really cool that it fit perfect, so we left it because it doesn't fall out. So anyway, that's part of the game now. But check out that steering wheel. It's like a metallic. Look. But here's the thing. That steering wheel is not for this game. Now, all of them had that, but that's just an off-the-shelf product. They went and bought those from like a hot rod shop or a company that made them for, you know, cars, and got kind of one of the craziest ones they could find and put it on the game. And these gauges don't do anything. They're just dummy gauges. They don't even light up. And then you got the big black dash here. So let's look at the artwork here. Allied's Spin Out. Allied Leisure Industries Incorporated. Oftentimes it was referred to as ALI, like there. And it was in Hialeah, Florida, USA. I guess that's how you pronounce that. And so you've got a couple little things here. Over here you have this big kind of wheel with a line on it. That is a clock. It's a timer. And then over here you have score reels. You see right now it's at 243. Alright, and then down here it says, for bonus time, score 200 or more. But how do you play it? If you look in there, you can see a little bit. See how there's a kind of a, if I get out of the reflection, see how there's a little bit of a road, and then it says, there's a light lit up that says race over, and then one next to it that says bonus time. So basically this used projectors and like a screen in there to make you be able to drive. So what I'll do is I'll turn the lights out real quick, and then we'll show it running a little bit, and then we'll take the back door off and I'll show you how they were able to pull that off. It's really pretty amazing. Alright folks, I'm going to try to play through it a little bit here so you can see how it works. One thing I didn't mention yet, this thing has an 8-track player in it. 1971. That's how they were able to get sound in the game. So it has an 8-track player that they bought, that Allied Leisure Industries bought off the shelf, that is in the back, and it's a 45-year-old tape, so it's not going to sound great, but it is what it is. And on one, 8 tracks were stereo, so two of the tracks have sounds on them, and then if it switches the other track, it repeats it. But one of the tracks comes out of one speaker, which is up here, and while you're driving, it's going like you're burning rubber, right? The harder you press on the pedal, theoretically, it gives a better ground to the tape player, which makes it play at regular speed. So when you're driving slow, it plays slow, and whenever you're driving fast, it speeds up the tape so that it sounds like you're burning rubber. Whenever you wreck and spin out, it goes like you're all screwed up. And the way it does that is when you wreck, it turns on a relay that turns on the other side of the tape player. So the whole time you're driving, you'll hear these screeching sounds that are supposed to be rubber burning. It's, tires squealing. And then if you wreck, you'll hear the brrrr as well, which is supposed to be just the sounds of you wrecking. So, and it's kind of, you'll hear it get faster and slower depending on how I'm hitting the gas pedal. So very creative, really. But it's 1971, and it's as I film this, it's 2015, so the thing's almost 45 years old, and that tape is really old. So it's not going to sound perfect, but it's up and doing its thing. So I'm going to try to reach my foot around the tripod here and not knock you over. So if I knock you over, I apologize in advance. So here we go. Whoop. Pedal to the metal. You can see the score going up. Well, I got rid of my enemy. There he is. Should have just kept going. Ah! It's kind of a game trying to figure out which side to go around on, because you got to just barely make it. Like that. And if you go too far to the road, the edge too, you'll spin out on either side. And so if I get 200 points, it's going to give me more time. You can hear the tape player doing its thing. That's how it's supposed to sound, best I can tell. And then it makes different noise whenever you wreck. And sometimes they call it the weave motor. Sometimes it'll do stuff like that so that you can't figure out a pattern. So I got extended time, or bonus time as they call it. Oh, I clipped them. Oh, and now he's sticking on me. Come on now. Barely got him. All right, so there you go. Hope I didn't knock you out of position too much. Hope you're able to catch kind of what was going on. So again, this was before they had screens. I mean, that TVs were around, but they hadn't really made coin-op games that used them. So they had to do all this with relays and motors. And this was probably state of the art in 1971. You got to remember that was before Space Invaders, certainly before Pac-Man, and it was before the Atari. You know, so people weren't really playing games at home or anything. So you would go out to a bowling alley or something, and something like this would be in it. All right, so I'm gonna look in the back of it and show you kind of how it works. The power comes in here, and then goes through some fuses, blah 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 blah, and then it goes to all these little relays, and all these relays you can swap with each other. They're all the same, and each one of them does different things. So one of them's hooked up to the coin switch on the front, and so if you put that in, it makes the credit relay go in, which turns on the reset relay, which makes all those switches connect, which turns on the #1 game relay, which makes all those switches connect. So that'll do things like, you know, the reset relay will reset the score and get everything where it's supposed to be. And then the #1 game relay turns on the motors and all that, and blah, blah, blah. And then the #2 game relay, similar, it just turns on other motors because they have extra stuff. The extended play relay, if you get, you know, 200 points and it gets around to where it stops, it turns that relay on, which lets it keep going, and turns on the light that says extended play. And then the #1 spin relay, the #2 spin relay, those all do different things. You've got a little tiny 12-volt power supply there, which just takes the line voltage from the wall and turns it into 12 volts that a lot of the motors use. And here's the famous 8-track player. we've got we changed the case that the tape was in because there were some issues with it to this old church music tape that I found. And you've got on one side a volume control, that's for like the screeching, and this one's for the spin out noise whenever it wrecks. And it's just the kind that would hang under a dash back in the day. There's the wires plugged into the back, just a few there. And so down here in the bottom, that's like a plastic reel, and there's a motor there on the right. Not sure if you can see that, it might be too dark in there. That's a motor that just spins that wheel. Well, when you press I don't know if you can see any of this, it might be too dark in there. Let me turn it around a little bit where we can get a little bit more light. Alright, so that's much better. You can see the wheel there, and you can see the motor. Now, these things have a lot going on. So for instance, there's two lights inside of that wheel that illustrate the street scene, which reflects it up on this just piece of opaque kind of plexiglass almost. You can actually see it reflected on there right now. Those two lights, oops, hitting the wrong button. Those two lights kind of show it dimly, but whenever the game starts, two other lights come on that make it real bright. Just little stuff like that really showed kind of a touch of design, you know. And then you've got these two big units here that are kind of what makes everything work. This one on the right projects the cars that are the enemy cars, basically, the ones you're trying to pass. And so this is a little projector, which is simple. There's just a little light bulb in here that's pretty intense, and then over here this is actually a fan that's on the whole time, just cooling it down. And so over here you have another motor, and that is the spin motor. Well, what it does is it spins a little, I probably can't get a good picture of it, but there's a little disc right here. I might be able to from the coin door. There's a little disc right there with the cars on it, and there's you'll see there's like 5 different cars with different colors that pass you. And then here, this mirror is the one that makes, basically this projector projects through that lens right there onto this mirror, which projects it up to the thing. Well, since that mirror slowly turns, it makes the car move up and down the thing, which is pretty interesting. This one up here is actually called the weave motor, and what it does is it moves this thing. It's got the gear right here that moves this whole thing back and forth, which moves this plate back and forth. All right. That's how it tells where your car is and if you hit the enemy car. Here's another projector just like it, pretty much. Has the fan on the side, has the light in it, and it also has a spin motor. So what this spin motor does is if you wreck, this turns on, which makes the car picture spin around. And again, it's projected through here onto this mirror that throws it up onto the reflecting thing. So basically all this goes on at the same time. Well, if your car is aimed here, if you look, see the little metal plates? If this is too far this way, that little connector there hits this, woo, like I just did. At live voltage here, people. It hits that, which lets it know that it's off. I keep getting blurry on you. Which lets it know that it's off the side of the road. It's too far to one side because it connected those two. And the same thing on the other side. If it goes too far that way, it knows that it's off the road, releases this coil, which makes the car spin, and also turns off the, since the spin relays come on, it turns off the score. And so that top one up there, it's the one that moves back and forth with the weave control. It's basically, it represents the car moving back and forth on the road. And so it's moving the projector to make the car, the enemy car, move, and it's also moving that plate to make it move. Well, you can see my projector for the car that's steered also has a metal plate up there, so I've got like a little pin that's connected on it as my car is going, which can, since that's moving, that's their car going back and forth, and if they line up, bam, I hit the car. you might not understand how it all works, but I'll turn it on so you can see it doing its thing, and maybe you'll kind of get what's going on. Now the steering wheel, whenever you turn it, it's got an old school, like a, almost like a bicycle brake line or something that comes down to here, and as you turn it, it either pulls this or pushes this, which makes this whole projector move, which changes where the car is projected on the thing. So let me, I'll drop a quarter in it. Or actually I can just reach through and do it and try not to get murdered again. And then we can watch it do its thing. Okay, I'm gonna put a quarter in it. All right, so this one's moving. That's the enemy car. See, the little mirror is moving, which is changing where it's projected on the screen. See, there's my car, and there goes the enemy car. And you can see my car is sitting there near the edge of the thing. Since I haven't hit the gas yet, this is the gas pedal, which makes the road turn. And you can see that whenever the little teeth hit that metal thing in the middle, on the one that's moving, you spin out because your car hit their car. Now, I'm going to go around to the front to show you the two projector cellophanes, which is the coolest part. Alright. Look close. The one on the left is the car, the enemy car. And watch, once it goes by, it'll turn over to the next car. Start it again. See the car on the left, and then it just spun to the next car on the left. That one drives off, and then it's okay, and on the right is my car. See how it's going straight, and then it starts spinning. So it's just a real work of art. Oh man, ran right into him. Oh, clipped him again. Hard to drive with a camera in your hand. And you can see the scores at 64, and as you hit the gas, it keeps going up. So there you have it, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video. That is Allied Leisure's Spin Out, one of many games we have here. You can check out all the games that we've got available for sale right now. Most of them are newer than this one, but if we get another game this old, you know, and we've got some in storage, but we'll be putting that up too. But you can check out all the games that we have available for sale right now, no matter when you're watching this video, on our website at lionsarcade.com. Or you can stop by our shop. We're in downtown Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is about 15 minutes south of Charlotte, North Carolina. And you can check out the games that we have available. Or if you're nowhere near here and are never going to make it by, somebody's just knocking on the window trying to get in. If you're nowhere near here and never going to make it by, you can just subscribe to us here on YouTube, and we'll be putting up a ton more videos like this. So we will see you next video. Hope you enjoyed it.